why we're looking at action with the Secretary of State. And I just want to comment on that because you're right on. We have found that many of the chaos, the procedures that are creating the chaos in our state, were mandated by the Secretary of State to quote-unquote make things easier. So it's one thing to make things convenient, it's another thing to open a door to the potential of fraud. And so we're asking the Secretary of State to simply follow the law. We're asking our registrars of voters, regardless of the Secretary of State giving them the freedom to do it, to please simply just follow the law. And citizen involvement will help them to know that this, the decision to make things convenient for the voters, I applaud. But the thought that someone might actually take advantage is not being considered. And we're asking them to consider that those who will manipulate the chaos are indeed manipulating the chaos. Okay, I'm not sure how much time I have, so...
You have as much as you need, but I have a question. How can our Tea Party get the required training from you?
We are going to start training teams for 2014. At the end of January, we will be doing our statewide conference. And one of the things we'd like to do is for every county that did not have a team in 2012, we'd like to invite you to come participate in the conference. We'll train all the new teams on the Friday afternoon before the conference, and then you can participate in the conference afterwards. We'll be doing the training and preparing you for being able to train volunteers to observe and work in the polls. So that would be the one thing, is let us know that you'd like to put a team. You saw, I can bring the screen back up to show you the counties where we did have teams. If you don't see your county there, that means we didn't train a team for that county. And we will come out, if you don't make it for the January, I will come out and train your teams. That's the part that I do, is I train. Okay, and you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. A couple weeks ago, I came across a write-up that relates to a case in New Jersey from 1981 or 82 that has to do with the Republican Party versus the Democrat Party. Anyways, the outcome of that lawsuit was that the GOP is barred from ever initiating a voter fraud against the RNC.
Well,
you aware of that?
Yeah, it's the New Jersey Compromise.
Yep.
Yep. So, but what we're doing is we are meeting also with Republicans. We will meet with anyone who cares about the issue. We'll help educate. And so there are some Republicans now talking about the need to pull together, go back to that judge and say this was, I think it was 1981 or 2, it was early 80s, to say, okay, we've learned the lesson. And then it was true. They were caught in New Jersey. Whatever procedures they were doing, they were disenfranchising Democrats. So instead of a huge lawsuit, they compromised, and the judge said, if you will simply not be involved in voter fraud, election integrity type issues, then we'll drop the case. So very often, we found that the GOP are afraid to get involved because they're afraid of crossing that line. We can't speak to that, but we would like to see all citizens have the right to observe the process. By the way, in California, just so you know, California, for all of our problems, we are one of the best states for citizen observation. And when you go to the polls, there's a page that hangs up in every poll, number 9 and 10, it's the Voter Bill of Rights. Number 9 and 10 says that citizens have the right to observe every aspect of the election process. That means we have to be close enough to see the signatures. And by the way, we have seen provisional ballots and vote-by-mail ballots accepted without signature. And the reason they've been accepted is because the Secretary of State has said to the signature verifiers, if you're going to err, you must err on the side of the voter. And that's so broad and general that some signature verifiers, when they don't see the signature, they say, well, maybe they just forgot. So they count the vote. So again, this is crazy. What's happening in California is crazy.
CGI, you mentioned that organization. Can you explain a little bit about it?
CGI is the organization that built the Obamacare website, the one that is failing, the one that they also have several other government organizations. They're a Canadian company.
I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. I understand that it is a Canadian company it was a no, a no bid giveaway of what, millions?
600 million.
Yeah, 600 million, and that the first vice president is a college classmate of Mrs. Obama.
Same company, same company. Yeah. Right, in California, it's also called a no bid, but it's actually not a no bid. What they do is they set up the parameters for the bid for the contract, but they set it up in such a way that CGI was the only company that qualified. So they can still say, well, we opened it up to other companies, but nobody qualified. And we have sent letters to the Secretary of State. We'll continue to press, and we will continue to press. We believe that the citizens of California, our voice needs to come together, louder, stronger. We want answers, and we want this to be undone. I don't know, when laws are passed and contracts are made, it's very difficult to undo it. But I think it should not be too difficult to prove that this company is not capable, and should not. There should be something done, that California is not stuck with that same company building a centralized database in California. By the way, on the Secretary of State's site too, there was an audit of the Secretary of State's office in August. It is a scathing report of the millions of dollars that have been wasted in California. They have over $1 million in their coffers that they are not sending down to the counties, even though they are telling the counties that they are not going to fund signature verifying. So there's just a mess after mess after mess. And we, the citizens, if we can pull together as a nonpartisan effort, can press them into taking action.
Is there something special about California that you can't just take the system that some other state has and use it?
No, you have to. The Secretary of State is the highest election official in the land, and so they are the ones who oversee elections. They implement the way that California works. So we, as citizens, must demand that we have a fair, honest election, that our voice is heard, and that we can vote out an incumbent.
No, I'm talking about this system that for voter registration that they haven't been set up.
Centralized database?
You can't just steal one from a different state and use it?
No, you have to build your own in each county, because the centralized database is built by those in the state that register to vote. So it's a system that has to mandate. Here's what we have found in California is we are building a centralized database, though ours does not have a compliant. We have found that the way that if you're familiar with Excel, for instance, Excel has the columns, and so each county sets those columns up differently. So for instance, Calvello Road. For some counties, they use RD period. Others spell it out ROAD. So to be able to check cross-county registrations, you have to create a common schema. It's called common schema. So you have to transfer all that data into one common schema so you can cross over. We've been working on that all in 2013. We don't have millions of dollars that have been given to the state of California. We're not have a compliant, but we certainly are able to run cross-county checks and identify those who are doing that. So it's doable in California. The will to do it is not there.
Who is funding the verification process?
Well, right now, the Secretary of State is supposed to give money to every county so that the counties can then hire people to do the signature verification. The challenge, though, is there are 3 different ways to verify signatures from 1.2.3 period. That's real detailed, but every county is allowed to use as many points of commonality as they choose. So there's no standardized way of doing signature verification in California. So these are the many things that we are now asking our legislators to legislate, to require standardization for signature verification and make it more than 1 point. 1 point of verification is the first initial, the first letter. So let's say David. So the D has to look like the D, but the rest can just be a squiggle or a line. That's enough for verification if you just have 1 point of commonality. We're asking that more than 1 point of commonality be required.
What are you verifying it against?
When you're in signature verification, the question is, what are you verifying it against? When you register to vote, you fill out the application, you sign it. The verifiers sit in front of a screen, and they can have 1, 2, 3, 4 signatures from the application on their screen. Each vote by mail that comes by, they check it against the registration. So if it's a duplicate and the regular voter was tossed out, then that's what's being counted as the duplicate. But for the most part, our registers of voters are so far behind in purging duplicates that most of them are all still there. So if they know how to find the duplicates, then they're catching them. That's what we're working with our register of voters now, is to help them find the duplicates through the multiple queries that we run. And there are many of them that are now actually doing that. So that's good news for California.
Our schools are proposing that cursive not be taught anymore. How do you do signature verification?
Hey, how about a thumbprint?
Good question. Okay, I don't want to hold you too long. I know you guys have started. So I will be available if you have more questions. I would love to, I don't know, how many counties are represented in this room? Is this Sutter and Yuba? Chico? Butte. Okay, so if you do not see your county up on the map, we would love to train a team in your county. We will be running data for every county in the state, even if we don't have any IT team in there. We want to be able to communicate with our county clerks, registrar voters, and let them know what we're finding in their data. And I have to tell you, some of them actually are doing a pretty good job. And then others that are not doing such a good job, when they see that there's a better way to do it, they're changing the way they're doing it. My opinion, there's hope for California. We have good people in California. They want to do the right thing. They're not giving the tools to do it. We have some that needed some pressure, but most are doing the right thing. Okay, that's it. Thank you for having me. And I'll Larry, you want this one? Larry, can we pass these across the table?
These are the sign-up sheets. We're going to pass them around. How many from our group here want to help and be part of this? Get trained and be part of her army?
No. It's a citizen army.
A citizen army.
Militia.
We have. Well, I hope we have the answers because we sure need it in Sutter County.